Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us for Jesse and Melva Live. We are so excited that you are here with us. And we're so excited because this is our third part of our three-part series called The Fundamentals of Success in Love, Marriage, and Life. Actually, there's a whole lot. Um, well, we pulled out three that we thought would be three treasures to focus on, just to have a way of looking at the foundation of important relationships in your life, especially the relationships, love and marriage. Well, there's also family relationships, there's also work relationships, and there's also friendships. So the three fundamentals that we have been sharing is something we're very excited about. So far, we have shared two. So here's what we're going to cover. Uh, we're going to cover the third fundamental of success in love, marriage, and life. We're going to answer questions. Now, we're going to answer questions if we have enough time, because you can still ask questions even after the show,
Right.
and we'll be happy to answer them, because we also do a weekly column where we answer questions that people have about love, marriage, and life. Jesse's going to take you through a guided imagery, and then we're going to offer a complimentary consultation at the end to support people who want to dig just a little bit deeper in implementing these three fundamentals in their relationship. So let's get started.
All right.
Okay, so far, let's do a review of the two fundamentals that we already covered. The first fundamental was safety. And we start off the fundamental with the word be, because each fundamental represents ways to show up in relationship no matter what is going on. So the first fundamental that we focused on is it's important to be safe.
Right.
It's important to be a source of safety, because if you want peace in your relationship, if you want to shift gears because you're not having peace in the moment, neither one of you are feeling safe. It only takes one person to turn things around by becoming safe, calming down, and we gave you 5 steps for how to do that in fundamental number one. And then there's fundamental number two, be understanding. So what we know is that people have two different realities, and sometimes those realities crash. And until people know what's going on beneath the surface of the other person's reality, then conflict continues. It becomes the name of the game. So, being understanding of another person's reality, and it helps to strengthen that foundation of connection. Of connection. That's the other part of the game as well. People want to feel connected to the people who are important to them. So let's. Are you ready for fundamental number three?
I am.
Are you ready? All right. Fundamental number three is compassion. Now, we have a certain belief system, and there's also a theory about this fundamental, just like the other two. And what we're going to do is share a little bit about that with you. And we're going to give you some information about how we applied it. We've been doing like an ongoing story, not just of the two of us, but of our family, and how we use these fundamentals in our family life when we came together as a family, and how we figured out how to be a family and to support each other and do all these things that we're talking about in these fundamentals. So let's talk a little bit about compassion. What is it? I like the quote by the Dalai Lama. He has a lot of quotes that I like. He says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. He says, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. Now, what does he mean by that, Jesse?
Well, what he means by that is the ability to look beyond oneself, especially when we get triggered, and uh, to make your best effort at understanding what the other person is experiencing, what they want, what they need, and how we can tune into them in a way that causes us to have a deeper connection with each other as opposed to be fighting with each other.
Yeah, yes. And what I would add to that is that it's a mindset and a skill set, just like the other two. A mindset in terms of how we think about what's going on, how we think about ourselves, and how we think about the other person. So being compassionate means that, who was that used to say all the time? Oh, it was Bill Clinton. He used to say all the time, I can feel your pain. Well, actually, that is an important aspect of
Right,
compassion, because just like people have two different realities of their perception of the world, their experience of the world, they also have different realities about their pain. So what's painful for me may or may not be
painful
painful
for me.
for you. And there's a lot of studies about this. And um, part of the theory that we practice in our personal lives and in our professional lives talks about the importance of having compassion, because there are a lot of people in pain. There are a lot of people who are living lives of quiet desperation, especially when they're not feeling connected to the people that they love, the people that they care about. And they could be in a long term, supposedly happy relationship. And maybe there's a lot that's going really well. But then when people don't feel that the people that they care about have compassion for them, especially when they're feeling vulnerable, it causes a lot of problems.
And many times the pain that people are feeling uh, goes back further than just the here and now situation. Some people have lived with this pain and discomfort for a long time, and they are really wanting and needing someone to understand
Hmm.
what they're feeling, what they're going through, and that helps them to heal and move beyond that.
Yes, and the person who's being compassionate, it gives them an opportunity to grow,
That's true.
because our brains are not wired to be compassionate. Our brains are wired to survive. Our brains are wired to go into fight, flee, freeze, play dead, hide, all that kind of stuff. And so, if there's the slightest threat to a feeling of connection to the people that we care about, then we're wired to automatically go into defensive mode. Now, here's the thing, just like we're wired to go into a defense when we get triggered or when that connection is ruptured and what have you, we can learn how to wire our brains to become compassionate. Because when we're in defensive mode, it's so easy to be mean. It's easy to be critical. It's easy to be judgmental. It's easy to do the silent treatment. It is more difficult to do something different that's going to support the relationship and support turning things around. And it takes practice. So being compassionate means tapping into the hidden treasure that's already in there, because all of us have these qualities within us and they're just dormant. So we want to wake them up and develop them like a muscle, so that over time, becoming compassionate, becoming understanding, becoming safe becomes the natural thing to do. Because I know when I'm working with couples, and I think you have noticed it too, and probably in our workshops too, that we have the structured way of supporting people to shift gears when communication breaks down or when the relationship breaks down. Because we know that if a person keeps doing what they've always done,
They'll keep getting what they've always got.
and people don't believe that, they insist that doing it their way, being defensive, insisting that the other person is going to change, that is the rule of the day, and it is not. That pattern has to be interrupted. Before you can change it, you have to interrupt it. And the reason why you have to interrupt it is because when a person is flooded with emotion, there is no logic available, no logic at all. So you have to be thoughtful to become intentional. You have to be, you have to decide that that's what you want to do. It's important to know and be in touch with and to focus on what it is that the individual can change, because you can't change the other person
No.
pushing your buttons, because many times people will step on a landmine, so to speak, a person's button or a person's trigger and not even know it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't change it. Maybe when you have a conversation about it, a deep conversation about it, maybe something will happen. But in the beginning, you can't change that this person is who they are. And there will be times that they will push your buttons. Cannot change that emotions will be activated when you're upset,
Right.
even the slightest bit. And when the emotions take over and you're flooded with emotion, then your mindset becomes a mindset of survival. And your actions or your reactions are in alignment with that.
Right.
So it takes time and practice to figure out what to do differently. Now, we're giving you some ideas about what to do differently. Now, knowing it and doing it, that's two different things. Because you're talking about interrupting something that's deeply wired, hardwired into your brain. So let's talk a little bit about some steps that we took. Now, the steps that we share with you that we took, now I'm not saying that we figured out these steps naturally, because
No.
we didn't. I'm also not saying that we sat down and figured it out. I'm saying over the years, when I think about how to be successful in a relationship and staying on track myself and looking at what it is that worked in the past and what it is that I want to do more of, it's those pieces that I put together. Because Jesse and Paul and Brian and I, we didn't sit down and say, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. No, we didn't do that. But over time, especially in the beginning, and then became just natural for us through those family meetings that we had. We just had practice doing it. And so this is what developed in terms of what I figured out. So what is the first thing that we did? So the first thing that we did, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Okay. Um, how we became more compassionate uh, with each other was since we already decided to become more uh, intimately safe and understanding the of ourselves and each other, we added a positive intention to become more compassionate and empathetic. Now, what that means basically is that we decided that we didn't want to continue to do what we have done in the past, which is to be uh, in a reactive, uh, angry, upset situation. That we were going to be understanding of each other, and what that meant was we had to be compassionate and understand each other so that we could move beyond all that.
Yeah, yeah. We decided. We made a decision. So that's the first thing. So then the second thing that we did, we aligned that intention with our relationship vision. Now, the relationship vision was as simple as this. What is it that you said? Because the times that things got a little hot, um, you said, we're going to have a family.
Oh, yeah.
What else did you say about that?
Yeah, I said we're going to have a family and we're going to be happy and we're going to enjoy each other. We're going to enjoy life. We're going to be supportive of each other in terms of what our individual dreams are. And we're just going to have a magnificent life and a magnificent family.
And he said that over and over again. People could be so angry with each other, and then he would interrupt the pattern because this is what he would say. No, we're not going to do that. This is what we're going to do. So that was the second one. So the third thing that we did was,
Let's you take that one.
yeah. So we implemented the third step of the couples dialogue. So we talked about the couples dialogue before, and actually these three fundamentals are connected to the couples, that structured tool that we have to support people to feel safe and to be more understanding of themselves and others. The third step of that dialogue is empathy, being more compassionate. And so, and again, we didn't do that formally. We just figured it out. And later on, when we learned the thing about the dialogue, we figured out, oh yeah, but that's what we were doing. So anyway, so the empathy part of the dialogue is about imagining being in the moccasins of another person, imagining being in their world, their inner world, and what it's like for them when they are experiencing whatever is going on between the two of you. Because oftentimes it's really different. And we alluded to that when we talked about understanding and sometimes the clash of two realities.
Right.
And when you have an opportunity to, often say to couples that when you are having a safe conversation, that is so important to understand what's going on in your country of reality as well as the country of reality of the other person. So when you are implementing these three fundamentals, you are actually crossing the bridge from your country, the reality of your country, to the reality of the country of your mate or the other person that you're connecting with. And you're going over as a visitor, as a tourist with curiosity, learning about discovering what is going on within them, how they are processing the whole situation. While you're over there, this discovery includes their vulnerability, where they're hurting, the places where they're scared, what it is that they want in the moment that they may not even have language for,
Right.
that would support them to repair whatever's going on so that you can restore connection. Now, it means that now you don't give up citizenship in your country of reality. You're just going over to gather information. And with that information, then you can make sense out of it, which is the step was last time. And you can imagine the feelings that the other person is having. What I like about empathy and compassion is that you don't have to be accurate. The most important thing is to imagine what it's like, because if I say to you that I imagine in that situation, beneath the anger is the hurt, the fear, and then the unmet need and the desires. I imagine if I said to you, and I have, and you have to me, that I'm imagining that you may have been feeling disappointed, misunderstood,
yeah,
not cared about,
right,
so it's just saying those words. Oh, and then asking, are any of those feelings accurate? Because we also have this thing that we call the 11th commandment, that when you are imagining something or you're making an assumption, then you check with the other person and ask them if it's accurate. Then you check it out, is that accurate? I mean, when I was the recipient of that, when Jesse was asking me and imagining what I was feeling, I mean, he already did the first two steps. I have to tell you how touched I was when he did that. And then when he asked, are there other feelings? It's like, wow, I get to say even more about my experience and it's not interrupted. I mean, he's totally present and he's there with me. So when you can do that with each other, it helps to strengthen the bond, and it helps to repair any disconnect that you've had much faster. Okay, I'm going to I'm going on too much for run out of time. Okay, and then the next one, the fourth one that we did, um, and again we didn't know we were doing that. I just figured it out later on. We added this fundamental during our weekly family meetings and beyond, of sharing and listening to each other. I mean, it just became a natural way of life. We didn't just do it with each other. We noticed that we were doing it in other situations as well.
Right.
There's a long story about something that happened at work that was just blew my mind just in terms of doing just this. But we don't have time for that today. And the last thing that we did was, um, the fourth thing that we did we did, implemented during our family meetings. And then the fifth thing that we did, we took it out into the world. And that's what happens. I mean, it becomes a ritual, then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes a way of life, because by then it is hardwired in your brain. So the other way is not gone, it's still there, but it's the muscle has atrophied. When you do these three fundamentals over and over again, you build a muscle, and every time you take an action step, then you're building up that muscle. So you have the stronger muscle of being safe, being understanding, and being compassionate, and then the defensive muscle begins to atrophy. It doesn't go away, but
Right.
it doesn't have as much power.
And it feels so much better than the way you have been doing things. So I mean, you say, okay, now what am I have a choice here. I can either continue to do what I have done in the past and feel bad, or I can change that and experience life in a much better way between me and my partner and me and other people.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we're talking about being a certain way, and we know about the law of attraction. And when we first came together, one idea that we paid a whole lot of attention to was like attracts like. And then later on in life, we learned about the law of attraction. I mean, if you become more of who you are, you're going to attract more of that to your life. Is that the law of physics? I don't know what it is, but I know that it works. Okay, so here's the thing. Being more compassionate, plus being more understanding, plus being more compassionate, they are the fundamentals of growth trying to happen in love, marriage, and life. And like I said, there are a whole lot more, but we start with these three. So what we'd like to do is to set the tone for you to have an experience of what we're talking about, of compassion. And so Jesse's going to take you through a short guided imagery to introduce to you a taste of what this could be like for you.
All right. So
I was going to cue you up here.
So we invite you to close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, let's try one more time. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now think of a person who is important to you and that you really care about. And when you think about that relationship situation, bring that person into your awareness and take a couple additional deep breaths. Think about their words, even if they were not expressed in a way that you might have liked when they were trying to communicate something important to them. think about what they were really trying to say, they were filled with remorse. Since one part of compassion is the ability to identify with another person and to imagine what they're experiencing. What hurt do you imagine that they were feeling? What fear do you imagine they were feeling? You don't have to be completely accurate. Just imagine how you imagine yourself saying to that person, I can now feel how angry you were, or when I didn't feel in the blank, you feel it in now. What do you imagine that they were feeling? Know that the ability to feel each other's feelings, to make that heartfelt connection on a deep emotional level rather, even when they are feelings that have to do with hurt or unhappiness with each other, is deeply healing. Ask yourself if you're willing to retreat from the conflictual situations and implement the reflector or reflection steps in order to prescribe the first series of fundamentals: safety, to embrace rather than to resist this person who is before you, in whom your imagination to contribute to another deeper connection. This is what you have control over. Now take one more deep breath and open your eyes.
And we'd like to hear about your experiences in the chat. Um, and also you can, what is it? We have the chat and we also have, well, the chat, because even though we didn't have an opportunity to have an exchange, we will still follow through with this. And also, we have a private Facebook group called Tips for Success in Love, Marriage, and Life. And so we invite you to join that group too, because we are becoming more interactive in that group and answering questions and what have you. Okay, so now you have all three fundamentals. And so we ran out of time to do questions, but what we can do at this time is to let you know that we are still offering consultations. 5 couples a week. We're scheduling 5 couples a week for the next few weeks, because you have all counsel, you have all fundamentals. The question is, now what do you do? I mean, Jesse and I have been to classes, workshops, trainings. I mean, we've been married forever, and we have a lot of information. And one thing about having a lot of good information is that you can probably just recite it off the back of your hand. Is that a phrase? But you could instantly recite it. Now, implementing it, that's a whole different thing, because your brain is wired to do what you're doing. No matter how much you tell yourself that you're going to do it, you can tell somebody else because you really understand all the concepts and that kind of thing. So it's important to have a way to implement the changes, because your brain is wired to do what you are doing right now. So we're offering the complimentary consultations to support people to take that first step in implementing these fundamentals. So we invite you to take advantage of that, and we would love to set up time with you. The link is going to take you to our page. It's not a scheduler. It's a page where you can just fill in your name and your email address and let us know that you're interested, and we will respond. Thank you so much for joining us for these 3 fundamentals, this 3-part series. We know how powerful these fundamentals are. We know about them personally, and we know about them professionally. Our mission is to support as many couples, as many people as possible to shift out of any way that they're feeling desperation, quiet desperation in their relationship. Because what we see on a day-to-day basis is that people want to have connection. They don't always have the tools to reconnect when things go downhill. Now, our goal is to, or what we look at in terms of our vision, is to support couples to have 5 positive experiences for every frustrating one. I mean, life happens all the time. And if your foundation is strong and you can go through whatever you're facing in partnership, in love, safely, with understanding, and with compassion. And that's what we want for you. Until next time, take care.